to the club. Hi, I'm Eliane Sainte-Marie of Parenting for Wholeness, and I am here today with Lilly Brick, who just completed my clean parenting program and who was so brilliant and so knowledgeable that on the post-program session, I hurried up and hired her for my team because I want her wisdom on the team and I want her help. So we were just chatting this week, and she mentioned that she had just attended a class on sexuality, like parenting and sexuality.
Mhm.
And I was like, ooh, I want to learn about that because that's not a topic that I have a lot of clarity on. And then she went to tell me about it, and I was like, no, let's record this because I think if it's fresh, it'll be better, and then we can present it to everyone. So anyway, Lily, I don't know if you want to say a little bit about yourself or if you just want to jump into the class to what you learned that you wanted to share with me.
Sure. Hi everybody. My name is Lilly Brick. I did just complete Eliane's program, which was amazing and life-changing, and hopefully this little talk can give you just like a little slice, like a little helpful slice. I hope I can
Okay.
impart a little bit of wisdom, like the littlest bit of wisdom that in the similar vein of what I got from Eliane.
And this is really not meant to be a promo video, so I promise
I
no
might
quarter up
slip
to
in a
this.
few promos for you, Eliane. I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
I just had to put the disclaimer out there.
Yes, yeah. Gotta take the opportunities where they come.
So, what did you learn on that fabulous class?
It was amazing. So the topic of the class was parents are sexuality educators. Even if you don't intend to be, you are. Um,
Just that gave me chills because it's like,
yes,
well, duh, like we never, I didn't think about it, but of course we create their blueprint for everything. So that will
exactly.
include how they perceive, experience, think of sexuality.
Exactly, exactly. Just the way you are like embodied and approach these types of topics, your kids are absorbing it. They're absorbing the fact that you are very uncomfortable with it, and therefore it is a dangerous topic. Or they can absorb the fact that it's you can be pretending, but they're absorbing the fact that you are approachable. They can come to you with questions. But also the idea is that, like, sexuality is about it's about way more than just, like, reproduction. There's obviously, like, the mechanics of reproduction and anatomy and pregnancy and puberty and like, the anatomical terms, penis and scrotum and testicles and vagina, and, like, knowing all of those words and knowing what they mean, like, that's very important, and that's where a lot of parents are like, done. My kid knows the base mechanics of what's going on with their body. I have done my duty, and I can leave this topic alone and never touch it again. I'm done. But sexuality is about so much more than just that. It's about your relationship with yourself. Like, it's your body, like your body functions and your sense of your gender and your values and your feelings and your identity and your process of growing up into being an adult and your sense of self-esteem and your ability to set boundaries and your self-expression. And then there's aspects of like your relationship with others, like being able to connect and be in a relationship with other people, like trust and consent and safety and what families look like and like what respect is and how to communicate and like what are social rules, what is privacy,
Well, no wonder I had
intimate
issues.
yeah, intimate and platonic friendships and like peer pressure. And also there's an aspect of like joy too, like it isn't all doom and gloom and like fear and like focus on safety, like there's joy and sacredness and reverence and like positivity too. Like it's sexuality, like we humans are sexual beings. And
I'm sorry,
children,
I'm laughing.
children,
I'm getting distracted because I remember having a conversation with Cassandra when she was maybe like 10
yeah,
years old. I don't know. Oh, I know. I
yeah,
think it's like I was doing the taking my temperature, the whole basal, like natural family
yeah,
planning thingy. So I
yeah,
was
yeah,
tracking it. So she started asking me questions. So I
yeah.
pulled out
Like,
a
what are you
book
doing?
that had whatever anatomy or whatever. So I'm telling her, describing things. And then whatever, we talk, it's over. And then
Yeah,
at some point I was like, Cassandra, I forgot to tell you something. If you're with a guy and you realize that he's having way more fun than you are, he's doing
yeah,
something wrong. Something's
yes.
wrong. So you
Something's
need
wrong.
to, I don't know how much I went into details, but I was
Yeah.
so proud of myself remembering that. I was very
Amazing.
clear that
You
she
know,
was going to
not a
be
lot of
satisfied
parents,
too.
not a lot of parents would have that particular aspect as part of their sex talk.
Yeah,
I'm just
no, that was
saying.
very clear for me that she was going to know that it was supposed to feel really, really damn good. And if it didn't, something was
Something's
going
wrong.
wrong.
Something is wrong. Yes. And
Sorry.
one,
Okay, now I can listen again.
that's amazing.
I haven't
Um,
thought of this like in like 10 years. That's why it like was so like screaming at me to come back into my awareness.
yes,
And
like we need to tell people about that.
yeah, I feel
It's
like there's
funny.
a lot that I did wrong, but it's nice to remember that there were things that I was like, it's really
You were
cool.
on
Like
it. You were
little,
on it in
I
that.
was
Yeah.
pretty young. Well, I was probably your age, but anyway,
Yeah.
to me that was very young. Anyway, sorry.
No worries. No worries. It like segues into the topic of like mammals. Mammals, like animals, they reproduce sexually. Humans, we reproduce sexually, and children are on like a developmental pathway to becoming sexual beings. There are stages of sexual development that start at birth, okay? So like there are tiny, tiny babies and they are on the sexual development pathway. And that begins as infants, like a tiny infant like cradled to her mother's chest. She's listening to her mother's heartbeat and being like caressed. She's learning how to be in like a deep, intimate physical relationship with another human being. Okay. And like how to be touched and comforted in in a way that like brings that like closeness and like non-sexual pleasure, but like it's
Right,
pleasurable. Like
yeah.
it
And
feels
that
good
meets your needs, where
and it
it's like
meets your
your
needs.
physical, emotional needs are met.
Yes, you are experiencing the sensation of pleasure while like in relationship with another person and while existing in your own body. Okay? And that happens as an infant. And you build and build and build upon like those basic foundations. Like you're developing your attitudes towards your body image like extremely extremely young. You're developing self-esteem based off of your relationship with your parents, but then as you begin to individualize, um like that becomes more and more mature. So basically the point is like it starts instant, like the baby comes out of your body and they are on the pathway to becoming a sexual being. Okay. And like knowing that and respecting that. And so no matter how old your child is, they are learning lessons about sexuality everywhere because sexuality, like it's infused
I
into
mean, in our
our
culture,
beings.
it's
And do you have a body? That means
uh,
you're learning lessons about like I can't be naked in the grocery store. Like you're learning these social rules. You're learning like what makes my parents uncomfortable. What is safe and what is not safe. Like just existing in a body, you are passively
right.
absorbing all of these messages from your parents, but also
Body
from
and
the culture.
society, like
Hmm.
so both from within and from without.
Yep. So they're learning about concepts of consent. They're learning boundaries, like when your parents say, like, no, you can't have chocolate right now. They're learning to navigate when somebody says no and how to like handle that sensation in their body. They're learning that there are times that it's okay to be naked and times that it is not okay to be naked. And like, how do you know like when it is okay and when it is not okay? That seems very arbitrary. like from an evolutionary standpoint,
Oh
like
yeah.
that,
Yeah, I
right?
was just having a conversation. I feel like it was yesterday that I was having a conversation with somebody who was talking about their child, their 3-year-old wanting to be naked. Like that was a problem. And I was like, so
Yeah,
that, yeah, I brought that
of
up. I was
course.
talking about how in my
They just want to
family
be
and with
naked
like the neighbors,
all the time.
I think they
Yeah.
were up to like 8, they would do the naked ape show. Like all the kids were
Yeah.
always naked and there was no
Yeah.
shame. And literally they would
Zero.
do the naked ape show standing on coffee
Yeah.
tables. And we thought it was the cutest thing because we're not evolved to need clothes. Like it's such a societal thing.
Yes. Yeah. It's like it's all about like that social appropriateness, which varies from culture to culture. And like and we want to be appropriate and fit in and like not alienate our social peers, but like it takes time to learn those social norms.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
it is extremely natural to want to be naked. Like there
yeah.
you
Yeah.
do.
And I think for me, the point of my story is that it's a lot easier to understand when you're 5
Yes.
that you need to have clothes on than a 2-year-old who is
Yes.
shamed or forced to wear clothes in the home, where it's like, I mean, I like to be naked if I don't need to be putting,
Yeah, like things are itchy and like why? Like
it just feels
who
free,
says?
you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just feel like that's one thing that I find. It's like people who are comfortable with their children's nudity, I feel like it's so much easier for them to understand and to like follow the rules of society when they get to be a little bit older versus
Yes.
trying to force a 2-year-old to get dressed to be dressed when they don't want to be, when there's no reason for them to be dressed in the house. Anyway,
Exactly. Yeah. And and just like as an aside about like the nakedness piece, if it's so hard for a child to like it's like this subtle nuanced thing that we want children to be clothed because it's a social appropriateness thing, and that's a very that is a complex thing to navigate, especially as a child. So it can be easier to help a child be because they need to wear clothes at some like you cannot go into a grocery store completely
right.
buck naked. That's you just cannot do that. So there are points in time where you need to enforce it, and an easier way to enforce it is focusing on like cleanliness and hygiene. Like if you are on your child's team and even like as a 2-year-old, if you can explain to them like we need to keep your vulva clean and like keep dirt away from it because it will like it can get sick, or play with the wording, but like then you can kind of see their faces go, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like I don't want to get that part shouldn't be like it's delicate and like I don't want it to okay, like sure, like I can cover that part. And then they'll just like merrily go on their way. So you can put some boundaries there, but if you're trying to explain this like nuance, like like society needs you to be dressed, they're kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, mom. Moving on, like I just want to be naked. Like who cares about these ephemeral we so kind of like focusing on like hygiene and um anyway, they're going back to like what children are learning just like existing in society. They're learning like even as small children, they're learning that mom is okay with some types of touch and some types of touch she is not okay with. And like what are the nuances of that. Um, Learn that some topics make my parents have scary, uncomfortable face, and maybe I should avoid that topic. Um, because kids can tell like their parents get like the weird rictus mask of like and that can make children feel so uncomfortable they instantly get the message of like this is not okay and I should never bring it up again. This is a topic that is
Wow.
off limits. Look at how uncomfortable this is making my safe people. Avoid, avoid, avoid. They
Wow.
instantly get that message. Avoid, and they're experts.
Wow.
They're experts at not making their safe people uncomfortable, right? So
So it's
they're
really important for parents to learn that early on. Like we
very
need to have
early
a
on.
piece on it in a clean parenting program.
Yes, yeah. And
Okay, that's your job.
that's yeah, okay. There, and then there's also like a very interesting phase of development where children are learning, they're learning pattern recognition, right? They're learning categorization and pattern recognition. So they're trying to categorize people into boxes. And this is a completely normal, this is an expected stage of development. So this is where they're getting really into like boy stuff, girls, like this is boy stuff, this is girl stuff. And they're like very, very like black and white. Like children they go through a black and white thinking stage. Um, and then also noticing that sometimes people don't fit neatly into these boxes, or like this person has super long hair, but also is a boy, or like that person is wearing kind of like neutral clothing and like I can't tell. So like they're noticing the the word that is occurring to me is like
Anomalies.
the anomalies. Yes, the like this doesn't fit into my like brains are pattern recognition machines. Like that is what humans are. We exist to find patterns, and like this is breaking the pattern. It's a very
It's a
rudimentary
survival
pattern.
thing
It's a
because
survival
if you
thing.
find something, yeah,
Yeah, like the black and white thinking is like the rudimentary initial pattern recognition. So then like it then when things don't fit neatly into those boxes, it kind of like breaks their brain. So then they have a lot of questions. They have like, why is that not fitting into my like neat and very tidy little boxes? I have so many
Mm.
questions about this. Um, so I have a lot of there's a bunch of tips. I will get to those.
So wait,
But
can you just like connect it to sex though?
what do you
The
mean?
pattern recognition, the black and white, what
I
doesn't fit
mean,
the patterns?
like especially initially. So I'm primarily for me it's easier to talk about like young children, kind of like preschool age and younger, because that's how old my kid is. um I've never had a kid who's older than that, so at least right now it's like for small children around that age, they are at least starting to initially like notice that person is a boy, he likes cars. And this person is a girl, she likes dolls. And this makes adults very uncomfortable, right?
The
Like
black and
you can
white
kind of,
thinking.
that black and white thinking can make adults feel extremely uncomfortable because we know, so we push back almost every single time a child like says something
Right.
like trying to
It's like, no, you can play with cars too. And no, it's for
right.
everybody. And
Which like that's totally fine to say, but like a lot of parents are getting a little panicked about like, oh no, like, ah, my kid is like is feeling like really stuck and rigid in these gender binaries. And like we do want to help them see that like these these boxes are not the only boxes or these boxes are false, okay? But we also don't have to panic because that is a totally normal and expected, it's a pattern recognition thing for the brain. They haven't like children are
it's a
not
stepping
mature.
stone. It's their
It's a
stepping
stepping
stone to
stone.
understanding the world.
Exactly. They can't leap from nothing like a goo, like they're just like a little bubbling goo to like these extremely complex,
Nuance and yeah,
very
right.
nuanced, like it takes them a little while to get there.
So
So you
so
don't
wait, but how does it connect to sex?
we'll get there. We'll get there, Eliane. We'll get there. I promise I have tips and
Yeah.
thoughts. Like you
Okay.
can talk through the like
Okay. Now, when
mechanics
you
of
said
like
the tips, I thought you were moving on to another subject and I hadn't gotten my answer. And if something's incomplete, my body does not like that.
no,
It
no, no,
needs the
no.
answer. So,
So
okay, now that you told me I'm going to get the answer, I can relax and
you're
listen to
you're
you.
gonna you're gonna get you're gonna get the answer. So
Oh,
I mean you can we will eventually get to the answer very quickly. So like when we're talking about sex and sexuality, like this is such an uncomfortable topic for parents because as a culture, this makes us so uncomfortable. Like as adults, it makes us so extremely uncomfortable to think about, just like individually, like thinking is sitting here and just thinking to myself, it's an uncomfortable topic. It's uncomfortable to talk to other adults about, even your partner. Um, let alone talking to a child about it and like trying to navigate. There's just like so many uncomfortable, like, am I am I giving too much information? Am I encouraging experimentation? I want them to be safe. There's just so many like worries and concerns that like fly through a parent's head. Like, if I talk about this, is that going to make my child more safe or less safe? So that just kind of like paralyzes a poor parent, like, oh, like I can't talk about this. Um, but you can talk about it. But first, like before even thinking about like broaching these types of topics with your kid, like just like sit down and think about like what kinds of values about sexuality do you want to impart to your kid? What do you want to teach your kid about sexuality? And remember, sexuality is about, it's not just about the mechanics and it's not just about hygiene. It's your kid's relationship with themselves. It's how they approach relationships with other people. And it's also about joy. Okay. So what do you want your kid to like go into adulthood having learned about those things? Right. So like for me, like when I did like we did this exercise in this class, like so we wrote down, what do I want my kid to know? Like imagine, not just like right now, like
Oh my God,
she's
that's
three and
going
a
to be a
half,
question in one CPP module.
but like think about your kid. They're approaching high school graduation, or they're approaching their 20s. They are launching into their adult lives. Your tiny adorable little child will eventually become an adult. What do you want their adult selves to know and like be embodied in themselves going forth into being their adult self in the sexuality realm, which is so like it's pervasive of like it touches everything, you know, like it's so deeply connected to you as just like a body existing in the world,
Human, yeah, like a
you know,
being.
it's you are a being that you're like it's just so deep and like innate, like, and then you think
Yeah.
like,
'Cause, I
how
mean, I
do
know
I
for
as
me, when I'm really connected to it, it's like I'm a different person. It
yeah,
infuses every part of me and every part of what I do.
exactly.
Because so it's
And
not just about what happens in the bedroom. It's like how I
it's the
feel as a
sensual,
being.
yes,
And
it's a
almost like it nourishes
sensuality.
you, and it's like it's
yes.
energy and it's connection to life and it's
Hmm.
connection to your essence. Well, not, I don't know about I like your human essence.
Yeah,
You know, it's like the embodied human animal that we are. Like it's so
yeah,
it's an intrinsic part of it. So we're if we have a good relationship with it. I mean, I
yeah,
know because
you're
I had a
just so much more
sexual
comfortable.
awakening in my
Yeah,
30s and I was like a different person after. That's when I was
exactly.
that's why I was teaching Cassandra. Oh,
Yeah,
that's what was happening. Oh, that's what was happening. I read the
that
book.
must have been it.
She walked away, and then I was like, we looked at the diagram and
Yeah,
everything, like,
yeah.
and then she walked away, and then I'm like, clitoris. I didn't talk to her about the clitoris. That's how that
She needs
conversation
to know.
started. I'm like, she's not gonna do what I did the first part of my life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, sorry. Maybe it's
So
TMI, but people who know
we're
me, that's
talking
how
about
I
sex right
roll.
now.
So
We're
you're
talking
you're
about sex right now, Eliane.
you're with the
We
wrong person, and I have
exactly.
zero problem talking about sex. So
Yeah.
bring it on.
So, okay, as part of this class, one of the first exercises that we did is like, we want you like just write what you want your to be an adult child to like take into their adult selves. So, like I was just thinking about like I want her to know, like deeply know that like reverence, that like sacredness and like value of herself. Like she's the driver of her own body. Like I want her to have control and knowledge so she can drive. She's the driver of her own body. Like it's hers. And her most important relationship will be with herself and feeling like that deep power of like, I got this within herself, you know, and just like she should know and have control over her own body. That's like number one. That's what I want. And number two is like how can I impart this sense of that again, sacredness of like connection with other people, like that deep connection and that desire with to be like with other like is natural. It's a natural like we are social beings and we reproduce with sex. Like this isn't a
That's our number one drive for like
for
evolutionarily for survival of the
evolutionarily.
species. Like
Exactly.
every species on the planet, its
Does this.
primary drive is to reproduce. Everything else
Yes.
comes later.
Exactly. Exactly. Of like it's almost at the same level as like I as an organism am being chased by a tiger and I have to survive. Like I need to survive in order so I can uh uh reproduce and like continue on my DNA like into the future.
Yeah,
Like that's why we have survival instincts is so we can like send on our DNA. So like
yeah.
it is
And
so
that's why like
natural.
putting shame onto that when it's
Like
such a
it's
huge drive,
that can be so
it's
violating.
so
It's violating.
it's so messes with you. I mean, it's more than
Yeah.
violating. It really screws you up, especially
Yeah.
the stronger your drive is, which
Yes.
boys are
Ex
so screwed up by that because the amount of
yeah.
testosterone those poor teenage boys have flowing through their bodies and the shame that they're put through for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah. It's we as a culture are really screwed up in how we approach it. And there's just like no way about it.
yeah.
So
And not
like
in all countries because I know I'm trying to think of where it is in the one of the Nordic countries. Yeah, I don't know if it's like Finland or Sweden, where
yeah.
like there's such open sex education. And anyway, it's like they have a completely different relationship with sex than we do
Oh, yeah.
here in the
Yeah.
US.
Uh it's very open. Like people aren't having sex out in the streets. But but like
Yeah, but like the pregnancy, the teenage pregnancy rates are a lot lower. Like
solo. Yeah.
everything's so much more balanced
Yes.
because it's
Because
viewed way
it
more
doesn't have the
openly and there's
stigma.
real education
Yeah.
around it and
Exactly.
not the
Exactly.
birds and the bees education, but like true education.
True, like much more in line with like that true education. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that like connecting with others is expected. It's normal. It's an inherent drive you have as a member of our species. And it feels good. It's supposed to feel good. Like it isn't bad that it feels good. We are built to make it feel good because that makes us want to do it more. So then we spread on our DNA. But like that sacredness about it necessitates being discerning, okay? Like
Right.
and having boundaries, right? Like because it's so like that like it's valued and important and it's sacred. So you shouldn't just not value yourself and value that connection with others and just like what like you need to be discerning with who you're connecting with and who. And this it doesn't even mean sexually, like you can have like platonic relationships and friendships with people. Like you need to be discerning with who you are trusting with yourself and your body and they are trusting you in turn. Like it that there's a sacredness to that connection. That like is important
Yeah. Like
that I what
a self-honoring.
yes, it's a very honoring of that. So like thinking about so those are the two. And then the last thing that I wanted to make sure, like anytime I ever talked about this, I wanted to talked about this with my daughter. I wanted to make sure the thing that came through extremely clearly was I am on her team. Like her curiosity about this, her concerns, her identity, her gender, any questions. They are all okay. They are welcome. They are normal. And in order to do that, you need to like overly praise and like reward her for bringing like those questions and concerns to you because, well, I'll get to that in a minute because it's actually very fascinating. But I just want her to come to me so we can think things through as a team. I want to reward her for bringing those things to me because we're a team. I'm
Yeah.
going to help you. I'm
And
going to,
yeah, it so fits with what I teach in the program that like it's like everything you do, think about the long-term goal
yeah,
of what is gonna make them want to come to you when they're teenagers. Like
yes,
what
yes,
type of relationship do you want to create so that at that point when they cannot come to you, they still choose to.
yes. That is 100%. Like when they have a problem, you want them to think, oh my gosh, I need to call my mom and not, my mom can never find out about this.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
because they still need you. And if you are consciously or unconsciously ceding, like letting go of your role as a in this realm, parents are sexuality educators. If you're ceding this, if you're letting that go or actively avoiding it, whether you mean to or not, if you are releasing that responsibility, you are making it so your kid like can't come to you. Like
Yeah.
that's the reality. Because your parents you as a parent, you're natural, and I get it. It's so uncomfortable. It's so awkward. Your natural awkwardness and facial expressions of awkwardness about these kinds of topics and like your tone, like your the tone of your voice when you have uncomfortable or awkward voice and tone, like that can like it literally gets misinterpreted by your child as anger. They will
Mm.
read you being awkward and uncomfortable and like maybe confused even. They can the part of your brain that actually interprets tone and facial expression isn't fully mature until your mid-20s. So kids cannot accurately read your facial expressions and tone. They cannot do it. Like the part of their brain that does not exist yet. So they will misinterpret like, oh, you just asked me about penises. They will read that face as like, oh, mom is angry. Never mind,
So
Emily will never come to you
so
ever again.
I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but I
Yeah.
kind of want to wrap it up.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what are the I don't know, maybe key points that you think would
Key
be
points.
important for people to know just to and then
Yeah.
maybe we could do another video or you can write about it or whatever to provide more resources on
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So kids. So the two biggest takeaways that I had from this class, the exact perfect words are way less important than like your vibe. And your vibe means like you need to actively make a concerted effort to do the opposite of like awkward face. Like you need to like do like big smile, like very relaxed, like you need to fake it basically. Like fake being extremely comfortable and like open to this.
Oh my God, I have such a funny video to share about that. Literally, I'll put it in the show notes of
Yeah.
oh my God. Anyway, um
And you also want like explicitly praise them, like thank you for bringing this question to me. Like I'm really happy that you brought this to me because you will be awkward about it. You will have awkward face, so you need to kind of counteract to the like, oh gosh, did I make mom mad reaction. And then the biggest tip is you need to talk early and talk often. It is never too early to like slip in little like asides, little inserts, little like teachable moments and like build their like it can just be like a sentence. 3 sentences and then you're done. And you just have like you're going on a walk and you see two caterpillar I don't know, do caterpillars have sex? You see two caterpillars having sex, and you can say like, hey, what do you think those caterpillars are doing? And like they might answer you, and then you can have a little conversation. Did you know that like humans, like that's how that like they do something pretty similar? That's it. Like that can be like a little insert. You like teaching, like getting your kids books on like their anatomy or like consent, like so many sexuality topics, like books out there. Like, and you can have
So we
little
need to come up with a list of
conversations.
those
List,
to
I
have.
have a list. I have a list.
Awesome. Yeah.
The
And then
idea
another
is,
thought that I had is it's
yeah,
probably, well, two thoughts. One of them is it's probably really good to just talk with your spouse about it, like talk
yes,
it out so you can get
yes,
some of that awkwardness out so
yeah,
you're more
yes,
prepared.
yeah,
Like, I feel
there's,
like just doing that. And then, I mean, the other thing that I always say to people who have done my program, if you have awkwardness, we'll just do a healing session on it and just clear
yeah,
that shit out of you
just
because
clear
it's
it
not
out.
going to
Just
take
clear
that
it out.
long. It's like we
Yeah,
do one session, it'll probably release like a whole bunch of it so that you don't
exactly.
have to keep muscling through and trying to fake it. So it's like if you can clear your own discomfort with it, then you can just
It
spontaneously
feels,
be like I
oh
was
yeah,
calling out Cassandra saying,
the
"Yes."
clitoris. Wait, you have to know about the clitoris. That is a hysterical like vision that I have in my head. Like, okay, so all
I
children
did not have
will,
awkward face.
no, that is that you have the opposite of awkward face. That is amazing. So all
Maybe she
children will
had
have
I
these
don't even think
questions,
she had awkward
right?
face.
Yeah. All children will have these questions. They will come up eventually. Why not think through your answers and like practice ahead of time? Like
Yeah.
they will want to know. Here, I have this list of questions. I got this nice packet. They will know like, where did I come from? Will I have breasts? Why are these body parts private? Like why? Like why are they? What are pads and tampons for? Like these questions are going to come up. You can think through your ideas ahead of time. So also like I do want to mention our culture here, like Western cultures in Western countries, is so hostile and uncomfortable around the topic of sexuality, just as a whole, and actively discriminatory towards like towards minorities. So unless you actively and frequently and like verbally affirm otherwise, your child will assume that you conform to the culture. They will assume that you are racist. They will assume that you are homophobic. They will assume that you are intolerant and that you are not a safe person to come to.
Wow.
So you need to, that is why the like small, frequent, just inserts of like, here's what I think about that. Or like, hey, did you know that that part of your body is called the clitoris? Hey, did you know that that part of your body is called an elbow? Like, it's just like, it's just a normal part of your body. Hey, did you know that like some families look like this and some families look like that? Like, you can
Yeah.
just like small little inserts very frequently to almost showcase like I am a safe person to come to with topics like this. I am frequently coming and in conversation with you about our family values, and like I am equipping you with knowledge about your own body, and we're having, when we have conversations, we talk about bodies. That's actually a really big safety tip. One in four kids is sexually abused. One in four in our country. Um, and like there are studies that, or like they've talked to like convicted pedophiles, and they target kids whose adults aren't paying attention, and like whose kids are clearly giving off signals that this kid does not talk to adults about their bodies or like about bodies in general. So if you talk to your kid about bodies and about like these sexuality topics, you're almost giving off this like aura, this like vibe of like this kid talks to an adult about these things. This kid is not an easy target. So like if you, and also
Right.
if you're worried about like safety, like body safety worlds, body safety topics, which is that's a sexuality topic. So you are doing something protective. for your child by having these conversations. Also, it is way easier talking to your like 4-year-old, your 3-year-old of like little inserted topics than having like a big, like leaving it alone and then having like this super big, awkward, uncomfortable conversation with like a 13-year-old
Yeah.
or like a teenager. You've missed
Yeah.
the boat
Except,
by that
but you
time.
know what? In this day and age, you're not going to have those conversations if you
Right.
haven't talked before because they go to their
Yes.
peers and they go to the internet. They don't go to their parents for
They
that.
do not
So
go
if
to
you
their
want to have
parents.
any influence, you have to
You need
start
to go
early.
early,
Yeah.
way
Because
early.
because they learn from their peers and
Yeah.
from, yeah, the internet and TV and
A
yeah.
100%, 100%. There was the
You know
educate.
what,
This is the
Lily? I
last
feel
thing.
like I want to
I
wrap it
know,
up.
I know. Can I do like one last thing that I thought was just like it's very short, I promise. So she
One
goes
last
it.
thing, if you can keep it short.
I know. She goes to schools and she said it's easy to go and talk to fourth graders. They are extremely open, they are extremely curious, and they will openly ask like, oh, like blah blah blah, penises, vagina, like in class with their peers. And once you get into fifth grade, suddenly like none of them talk. They suddenly have like um they're very, very like the sudden awareness of like eyeballs are on me. Like, do people think that I have my period? Do people are they thinking about me having erections? Are they like there's suddenly like
They
there's a little
become
switch that
self-conscious.
flips, very
Yeah.
self-conscious suddenly, like somewhere
Okay.
between fourth and fifth grade, suddenly that self-conscious thing flips in. So if you can ideally like get it, like start having those conversations and make it normal, like before then you can like you've established that. But like it's also okay like if you've missed it, like missed it.
Yeah.
Like after fifth grade, like you can still have those conversations. Just know that you're going to have that self-conscious piece
Yeah.
to overcome. Anyway, that was
Okay.
it. I'm done. I'm done now.
Now I'm so glad that you said it because it reminded me of another cool anecdote.
Yeah.
So, I'm not gonna say who it was. So one of my kids in fifth grade, they had the talk. So they were literally taken to this theater thingy where there
Yeah.
was this
Yeah. It's
presentation.
yeah.
So my daughter comes back home. We're all sitting around at dinner, and like she's telling me what she learned, and she's like, I don't really agree with it. So that's my goal for kids. And my kids,
Yeah.
they would do that. They would be like, this is what the teacher said. Yeah, I don't agree with it. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
raising free thinkers.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like, so I guess but I feel like it's connected, like parenting children the way that I teach, the way that whatever.
It
I'm not the only one
100%
who
is.
teaches it, but raising children in this way where they have a really strong sense of self, where they have
Hmm.
self-trust, where they're respected, where their
Yes.
boundaries are
Hmm.
honored, where their thoughts are honored, they're not influenceable. So my fifth
Yes.
grader was not like that. She was
Yeah.
totally fine hearing it, and she was totally able to be discerning in what was presented and notice the bullshit in it.
Yeah. Like, okay,
In,
that's good
in
information.
fifth
Ignore
grade,
that. Yeah. In
yeah.
fifth grade. Yeah. That's amazing.
So that's another part of it is like raising children who just have a very healthy sense of self, who you really respect as people and like teach them critical thinking and
Yes.
don't impose your values on them, but support them in developing them.
Yeah. Ah, this is just
So
like
cool.
such a good topic. I like
Yeah,
it.
we,
It's
we, we
amazing.
could talk forever. But anyway, so
We
we're going
could.
to wrap it up for now. We're probably going to be creating resources. That's literally why I hired Lilly was to create resources. And the other thing, if anybody's listening and is not already doing one of my programs, if you really like what Lily's saying and you want to have access to her, you can just sign up for my Quick Start program because she's going to be running the Facebook group. So the Facebook group for all the people who are have signed up for my programs. So, yeah, then you get access to Lily and all of her incredible wisdom and
Oh,
all
thank
of
you.
her love of sharing all kinds of information. So you can
I
post a
am wordy.
question and she will write to you a whole novel to answer it. And
Oh
you're
boy.
not going to believe the amount of support that you get from her.
Oh, thank you, Eliane. Uh,
Love you. I'm so glad that you joined my group.
oh, stop it. I'm
So
glad I
glad
found
you found
you.
me. And then I was like, oh my God. I was just thinking about this earlier today. I was like, thank God she did my program because if you had done anybody else's, they would have snatched you like I did. Like you wouldn't be available for me and for Parenting for Wholeness if
Oh boy.
you had been part of a different group. So anyway, very grateful to you and for sharing all this information. I can't wait to see how people respond to it.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited to see.
yeah. So yeah, for anybody watching, please let us know in the comments because we'll be very interested and let us know um like what resources you would like to be able to implement this or what questions you have that we can dig deeper into to provide resources.
Hmm.
All righty. Well, thank you so very much.